Assalamu alaikum everybody, and a very warm welcome back to another video here on the Arabic in 60 Steps YouTube channel. So first I'd like to apologise, we've not been very active over here, and the reason is because we've been way more active over on the podcast. You can check out the Arabic in 60 Steps podcast on whatever platform you guys like to get your podcast from, whether it be Spotify or SoundCloud or Stitcher or Podbean or iTunes, wherever you guys get your podcasts from. So that's the first thing. We have a series over there which we haven't been able to do over here. It's this 10 nights of Arabic Bites series that we did for the last 10 days of Ramadan. So you can go and check that out over on the podcast. But we have this series coming out that we're starting today. This is a 10-day series for this countdown that we're doing to the relaunch of the Arabic in 60 Steps program on the 1st of June. So those are the announcements. So what we're going to do in this series is we're going to go through 10 of the most common questions that students in the Arabic in 60 Steps program have. It'll kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea of the structure of the program, the kinds of things that we cover, and also an insight into my teaching style a bit too, if you're new to the channel and stuff. So that's what we'll do. So maybe we combine them actually, like I'll teach a number of these together and then I'll just split up the videos and we'll release them sort of one day at a time. So let's get into it. So the first question that we really often have on the Arabic in 60 Steps program is students who are maybe in the first sort of 5 steps. And it's not really an issue with the way we deliver the program, it's more an issue with the way students prepare for it beforehand. So there's this situation when we come across these past tense verbs in Arabic. Let me give you a few examples. So a verb like kataba, okay, meaning he wrote, or something like shariba, he drank, or just one more example, the verb abada, meaning to worship. When we do these in the feminine, all we do is we add a little t on the end. So for example, he wrote, kataba would become she wrote by adding a ta with a sukun on the end, hence katabat. So how do we say she drank? From shariba to sharibat. How do we say she worshipped? From abada, he worshipped. You guys guessed it? Abadat. So then when we add like a female person afterwards, we call this the subject of the sentence, the one who's doing the verb. So if we're saying that the girl wrote something, and we use this verb katabat, and we want to say the girl, we have bintu, bintu, like this. We'd have katabat, and the following word would be bintu. So there's this thing that we do in Arabic when we have a sukoon before like that. There's a number of other times when we do this. It's to do with hamzatul wasl, when there's a hamza of kind of joining, like the flow and the melody of the Arabic language is really important. It's important that we kind of carry through these sounds from the previous word to the next word when we have a hamzatul wasl, a joining or a arriving hamza. And that's what we have at the beginning here on this word. So what we do is Arabic doesn't like to have a stop, katabat, and then bintu. We need to flow through some way. So the way that we join these two words together is that we replace that sukoon with a kasra. Hence, when we read this, we say katabatil bintu. So the girl wrote, katabatil bintu. And that's something that students really like. That's more something to do with the Arabic script. We usually have the Arabic script as a prerequisite for joining the Arabic in 60 Steps program. And this became so common, this became such a common concern that students had in a question they had at like step 2 and step 4, that I created the whole Arabic script bundle. Like we have a whole free course that you guys can get if you're a student on the program or not, called the Arabic script bundle. If you want to get it for free, by the way, I'll leave a link in the description below. So you can get it for free by joining the Best of Stories. I'll leave a link to that below. Or you can get it as a bonus as well when you join the Arabic in 60 Steps program. Obviously, we're not open now. We're doing a 10-day countdown to it. So 1st of June, you can join the Arabic in 60 Steps program and get it as a free bonus as well. So, so this was so common that we actually created a new course for it, a bonus course, because so often students think they know the script and they've learnt the alphabet or something, which is good. Like that's a good chunk of the preparation you need to do for the program. But this is really common. So this is probably the most common circumstance when it comes up as a question for students, where we make it katabatil bintu. Or let me give you another example. Let's say the word, if we say like the Muslim woman drank. Okay, so we're saying sharibat, we'll have the word muslimatu. Not mislima, muslimatu. Good. So in this case, we can't have sharibat al-muslima. So we have sharibat al-muslima. Sharibatil muslimatu. In this case, we turn that sukoon into a kasra for the liaison of those words to join up together. Sharibatil muslimatu. The Muslim woman drank. As well, another thing I should probably point out actually is that, like in English, when we use the word drink, if we say, does he drink? There's an implication that we mean alcohol. That doesn't apply in Arabic. Like if I was to just say, شربت المسلمة, they'd be saying, you know, ماذا شربت? Well, what does she drink? You know, there wouldn't be an assumption that it means she drank alcohol like we have in English. Important that we point that out. So the next, the verb عبدت. If we use another word just with el, another feminine word, let's say, you know, let's use the word the princess. الأميرة. 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 عبدت الأميرة. So what do? We change that sukun into a kasra. Okay. What we call this process of when we have that sukun and a hamzatul wasl in this case joining together, this is called iltiqa'u sakinain. That's the term. If most of you who'll be familiar with that are probably people who've learnt it from tajweed, from actual the science of reciting the Quran. But the word for it, I'll write it out so you guys can see it. Iltiqa'u sakinaini. التقاء الساكنين. So that's actually a nice example of it. Okay, so we have the joining of two sukuns. The word iltiqa, the verb iltaqa, yaltaqi means to meet. So it's really the meeting of two sukuns. Good, and you notice here we don't say iltiqa'u as-sakinaini. We say iltiqa'u as-sakinaini. We bring that u sound through the l. That's what we do, right? And that's exactly what's going on in these previous examples where we say كتبت البنت شربت المسلمة and عبدت الأميرة. That's what's going on. But the reason why it's an I with the previous examples is because there's a sukoon which we need to replace with a kasra. So with the verbs, that's the most common place where it occurs as a question. But it also occurs when we talk about, let me make a little bit more space down here. It also occurs when we use it with prepositions. So for example, there are a number of prepositions that end in a sukoon. Like an, for example. So when we have an, and we would say, you know, about the girl, or about the princess, or about the Muslimah, or about the queen. Let's change it to the queen so we can just build our vocab a little bit more. So if we're going to have an il melika tu, we have the word melikatu, which is, you know, the queen. So when we have an before it, we need to change that sukoon to a kasra. Anil malikatu. So how do we make that into a sentence? We don't normally just say about the queen. You usually need some more context on that. If I just say a book, you know, I say kitabun anil malikatu. Anil malikati actually would be in this case because, you know, a harf jar or a preposition makes the word that come after it. Majrur. That's not the main lesson. That's not the main point of this particular lesson. But we need to point it out just so that the sentence is sound. So this would be kitabun, a book. Anil malikatu. Anil malikati. So yeah, good. So we need to change that sukoon on the an to a kasra to have anil malikati. So. And that's a rule that's applicable throughout all of Arabic. This isn't a lesson about feminine verbs and prepositions. It's a lesson about joining of two sukoons, and it can be a number of places. I mean, there are a number of reasons why we have it, but we come across them throughout the program. So maybe we'll do a separate video on that if there's a demand for it, because there are sort of 10 nouns that you can learn that will behave like that. There's a number of imperatives that behave like that. There's a number of verbs that are just used in the past tense that behave like that. So we can maybe go through specifically when hamzatul wasl is used, but that's not the place for this. This is just one very simple lesson on one of the most common mistakes and one of the most common little gaps in students' knowledge who join the Arabic in 60 Steps program, and a little hurdle we need to get over. So that's everything for this particular video. Please come back tomorrow because we're going over another common mistake and common question that students in the Arabic in 60 Steps program. Obviously, this is all part of our countdown to the relaunch of the Arabic in 60 Steps program on the 1st of June. So put in your calendars. All right, guys. See you guys in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.